and then to have a fire on top of that, it's amazing. So the story goes on. When I was on the business side, now in 2010, I'm asked to, late 2010, to start a foundation. So they come in with a wild idea. Why don't we do something with the roof? Sure, what do you want to do with the roof? Okay, we'll make ornaments out of the roof. Okay, so that's this. Okay, we were doing very well as a foundation. We had strong support, a lot of money to do different programs and that. This particular promotion, in 18 days, they hammered 84,000 ornaments. Okay, and it realized $2.2 million in gross sales, about which half of went to the foundation. Okay, so it's, Christian man, you know the saying, thousandfold it comes back to you. The investment that we made up front, the offer to pay to front the cash to Wendell August Forge, came back to us in full return. What are we able to do with these monies? Okay, we have free equipment that we put into schools. Baseline concussion testing programs. Pride. It's evident to hear Will and Chris talk. It's evident they have pride in what they do. Okay, the other quality, American made. There's no doubt that it's American made. It's unique. You can't find another piece like it. And value, is there value in Wendell August products? So the big barometer here is, okay, they did a nice job for us. What would I do? Would I recommend that to our friends? So what's happened since then? The Winter Classic, the NHL, actually they did tickets for the Winter Classic for the NHL, aside from the Penguins. The Mario Lemieux Foundation, they did a custom plate for his fundraising event at Nemacolin, raised over $200,000 for the Lemieux Foundation. Obviously, Mario signed it, which made it a little bit more valuable. Okay, they just keep continuing to give and give and give. 2 years ago, I'm on the Ireland Fund Committee, and we were honoring Leo Gerard. Okay, and it came up, what would be appropriate as a parting gift, for the guest? I said, why don't we do the ticket? Why don't we make the ticket? Nothing better than have United Steelworkers hammering the ticket, made out of steel, okay? And it was unbelievable, the response. Year 2 came back. David Malone's being honored by the American Ireland Fund. They come up with an idea of actually producing a shamrock and a bronze. It was right? Shamrock? Shamrock and bronze. And each of the guests left with that. So the whole story boils down to, March 4th, we made a solid decision, and we didn't take it lightly when we made the decision to do business with Wendell August Forge. For us, it was breaking the mold. It was doing something different. A lot of research. We touched and felt the people in the organization felt very comfortable with what they were doing. March 7th was the day that, holy mackerel, what do I do? Okay, the easiest thing to me when I'm watching the news on Saturday, and really quite easy to say, hey, listen, and everyone would have understood. We just can't do it. There was a fire, it burned to the ground. What do you expect? But that wasn't it. It was we felt a corporate responsibility, to help in any way we could. That's our organization. Okay, it's not me, it's not Dave Soltis, it's our organization. We felt a corporate responsibility. And that's where the questions came. Can you do it? And our belief in their ability to do it. Okay, so that's what it was all about. So although March 7th was a unfortunate day, and scared the heck out of me when I saw it, because you go through that. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? It worked out for the best. I just want to say thank you for Wendell August. We've done it. We've done a lot of references to various corporations about doing projects with them. I would highly recommend, if anyone's considering anything promotionally, award-wise, no, this isn't a commercial. This is my heart talking, that you really strongly consider Wendell August Forge. This time, Bill?
Thank you, Dave. been a great story or what? It's just really amazing, and one of these things you only hear in Western Pennsylvania, I think, especially the labor management component of this. My name's Bill Flanagan. I'm with the Allegheny Conference on Community Development, serve on the advisory committee for this initiative, but I think the reason they had me come up to do this part is because of my part-time job as host of Our Region's Business on WPXI on Sunday morning. So I'm here to facilitate the Q&A and make sure we move this along and get everybody to the reception after the program on time. Now the way this works, everybody should have a card. We passed out cards, you should be in the folders and whatever. If you have a question, feel free to jot it down. We'll have folks running through the room and or walking through the room or whatever, and they'll pick them up and bring them up here to me, and then I'll be able to ask our panelists the questions. I've got one to get started while you all are thinking and writing. And I guess that, the questions, you talked a little bit about sort of the dark times, which I guess sort of coincided with the Great Recession and the onset of the economic calamity the world faced 5 years ago. So, but I guess my question, what was labor management relationships like at Wendell August Forge before the recession, before the cutbacks, and before the fire?
First, is this, do I need to turn this on?
Yep, you're up.
Am I
hear
okay?
you. Yeah.
All right. I think it was good. It wasn't great. It was good. And just evidence, and I'll give you an evidence of it being good. When we had to make the tough decisions in 2009, we got together and talked about how we were going to make some tough choices. And we worked together, and we came up with a great solution that I never would have thought of. And actually, where that solution came from was from the craftsmen. And we had a couple of ideas and threw them out to the team. And they said, hey, Will, do you mind stepping out for a little bit? Let us talk through this. And about 10 minutes later, they called us back. And they had come up with a phenomenal solution in terms of, rather than significant deep layoffs that would have hurt a lot of people, instead what we did was we rotated 1 week off, 1 week on. So half of the craftsmen would work 1 week and the other half would work the next week. And it was a brilliant solution for the company. It reduced the operating costs that we needed to reduce, while at the same time it was helpful for our craftsmen because it allowed them to participate with unemployment in the interim time periods. And so I would suggest it was good, it was respectful, but I think, again, as Chris said, post-fire, it just changed. It turned to another degree where it is, we've got each other's back, we're in this together. And so I think it went from, the popular Jim Collins book, Good to Great. It went from good to great. Not Bill without its problems. Again, many of those problems come with me getting out of my lane a little bit and not using my skill set correctly, or trying to do things that aren't in my skill set. So we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but one of our objectives is to be, in the next 10 years, named one of the top 100 places to work in America. We're far from it now, but we've set that as a 10-year goal in 2023, and we aim to do that.
Well, Chris, I want to go back to that idea of what the craftsmen came up with, is sort of 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. There had to be a significant sense of trust on the part of labor with the management of that company to be able to have that conversation and come up with that creative solution. Is that part of what made it possible to figure that out at the time?
Absolutely. Everybody that works at Wendell August, even there's guys that's been there for 25 to 30 years right now, and they all know, about the Connect family. This isn't anything new. This isn't anything that happened after the fire. This has always been a great family, and we knew what we were dealing with, and we knew that they would try to help us out in any way that they could.
So if they were being honest with you about the circumstance that the company faced, the union was willing to figure this out and work with them. But Will describes it as a light switch being flipped when the fire happened and everybody came together. So from your standpoint, what really changed in that moment? How did the relationship, I guess, go from good to great?
I can't speak for everyone, but for myself, it was just, it showed me just, what this family was willing to do. And, as Will has said, it's just not family, it's what God has worked in our lives. To agree, it's unexplainable for me to explain what happened. It's just, once again, this is a great family, and I know that they would do anything that they could to help not just myself, but anybody that works there.
Hey, Chris, a couple of quick questions for you from the audience. One is, are you a working union rep? I mean, what's your involvement with the union? What's your relationship when you have to sit down across the table from this guy and negotiate? What's your role?
I'm a working union rep, and I've negotiated a couple of contracts with Will, and we haven't agreed on a lot of things, but in the end, I think we both win.
It's an interesting point. Chris is an extremely intelligent guy, and he gets it. I mean, Chris just gets it. And we've had very intense fellowship together as we have negotiated contracts, and Chris knows what is needed, and he's not going to back down. But I think, there's a mutual respect that we have for each other and for each other in the organization that makes that working rep. We don't cross the boundary. I would never expect him to do anything that is not in the best interest of everybody. And I'm not looking to him for him to tilt the tide to the ownership group at all. I respect his mind and his ability to think and his desire, and I mean, he'll bring the hammer. I can remember some of the negotiating sessions that we had that were quite heated. But at the end of the day, we'd walk out and buy each other a coffee and say, hey, I'll see you in church Sunday. And that's a mutual respect that's unique in his perspective. And it's just, what a blessing to be able to deal with that kind of guy. Knows what he needs, is adamant in terms of how he represents his team. But at the end of the day, we can walk out arm in arm and say, let's go.
Yeah, Chris, another question from the audience. And as the company has strengthened and survived the fire, thanks and so much for the Penguins for standing behind it. Has the union contract improved? You mentioned there are a lot more craftsmen working there today. Do you feel like you're making progress, and the contract with the company's gotten better over the last several years?
Yeah, it's gotten better. There's a lot of new guys in the shop. A lot of them I've tried to coach and try to make them understand my thought process. Working with some of these guys, I understand that we're all different. Some of us think that everything should be handed to us, and the family, at times I wonder if they think that the family should make any money, that it should be just about us. And I have to remind them that that's not how it is, and it can't be that way, or else next time, we won't be working a week on, a week off. We'll be off. And I need to make them understand that still the economy is not great, and any day something could happen. And I try to make these guys understand we need to make this company as much money as they can, because look what they've done for us. It's not fair that we're the only ones winning. We need to win together.
Yeah,
and Will and I both understand that.
As Will mentioned, you're like the last one standing in your industry in the United States of America. That has to say something right there. A question for the Penguins, and this is from one of our audience members who admits to not being a Penguins fan, as hard as that is to believe, but we know there are a few out there somewhere. But at any rate, they really want to understand, you talk about promotion. What is it exactly that you were doing? You talked about the tickets. How does a promotion work? And, what were you asking the Forge to do, and why was it such a big deal to do it within 4 weeks?
Well, it was tough making a decision. You have to understand that there was a tremendous history at the Mellon Arena, not only from a hockey standpoint, the Stanley Cups that were won there, but concerts, whether it been the Beatles or presidents that have performed there. So it was about it was about honoring the grand old building going down. And what better way to do it with a handcrafted product? You know, we're about, you know, we're very fortunate. I can't give the exact number. We're on about close to 300 sellouts, you know, consecutive sellouts. We're very, very fortunate to have a very loyal, you know, season ticket holder group and a very loyal following. And we don't take that for granted, you know, as, you know, Will and Chris and their business, we don't take that for granted. So it's important when we have that opportunity to do something different and unique promotionally that lets them as a season ticket holder, you know, oh man, that's really cool. I remember when I did this in that particular building. That's kind of the process, or that's why we selected it. If you look at it traditionally from a cost standpoint, much, much more expensive than something promotionally we do in the building.
This is the stuff you hand out at games, right? I show out, come to a game and get a shirt, get a towel, right? This is a free souvenir for the closing of the old building, right?
If it was on the website of Wendell, it'd have been a $30 item. That's
Okay.
what they would retail it for.
So you guys don't like sit down the summer before the season and map all this out, and you've got it all. Is this like a month before you're going to need the tickets?
Yeah, we traditionally, you know, we traditionally map everything out, but we, you know, it was indescribable. That was the last event in the building. So it wasn't as if you wanted to say, here's what we're doing. It's almost like you wanted to take an extensive amount of time planning and make sure you put Wendell August on impression. No, I'm just kidding.
So you get the best work out of them, right? Yeah. So that's how it came about. So it was kind of a late coming decision. You're getting close now. The game's getting closer and closer. You have this brainstorm, and then it's who can deliver it in that period of time.
Well, the other daunting task that we, you know, I have to mention that the 84,000 ornaments that they produced for us, they did it in 18 days.
Wow, 84,000 in 18 days?
18 days. How'd you do it?
No one slept.
But I think that goes to the labor management. There had to be requests for overtime. Hey, would you guys work? I mean, I think you had a labor group that saw the opportunity for the Forge to take the next step, and they recognized it. And I'm sure that there were some conversations back and forth between Chris and Will. You know, hey, we need this. Can you help us here? You know, I mean, some of these guys, I mean, they had to be, you know, I had stories of these guys, their hands were just, right?
Wrists.
Yeah, the wrists.
A lot of them stamping.
Just from, yeah, well, how about that? You know, he comes in with an order. Will's got another great idea. 84,000 guys are going to deliver this in days. How do you work that out? That's a huge opportunity, but in a lot of labor management relations, it can be, yes, you know, that's a lot of extra work. I want to go fishing. I want to go do whatever. So how do you guys work through that and sort of join hands and make it happen and deliver for the customer?
Fortunately for the company, a lot of these new guys that work there are younger and they have families and they want to make as much money as they can. I'm one of those guys.
That's why your name's on all the tickets.
If I'm not working, it's because I wasn't allowed, really. I mean, I have 3 kids with my wife, and I work as hard as I can for my family, just as my wife does as well. But there's a lot of hard workers in there, and they all want to make money.
Not even a question. I mean, it wasn't anything where anybody had to come begging. We really saw what a blessing it was. We remembered the fact that a year prior, we almost went out of business. And again, just an incredible tribute to the people that I'm blessed to work with and the craftsmen. It wasn't an issue. Or, you know, the team in distribution, the same thing. Incredible hours. When I say we were working round the clock 7 days a week, it's true. I mean, just amazing people. What a dedication. And for us, you know, we're making it in America, and that means something. And I think that's a little bit behind all that we do. There's a pride in the fact that we're the last man standing. And, you know, we bleed red, white, and blue, and we're going to go the extra mile. And again, it's not me, it's everybody living it every day.
Yeah, it's interesting. We say a lot about the sort of the Pittsburgh economic transformation over the last 30 years. We get these groups in from all over the country asking what happened here, how did you do it? And we say, well, we had a crisis in the 80s, the collapse of heavy industry. And if you have a crisis, you get yourselves organized. You work together, even if you have disagreements, politically, organizationally, whatever, and you get the job done. But then the question they always come back to us with is, well, what are you going to do now that you don't have a crisis? How do you sustain this? How do you continue to work together? How do you keep this front and center? So, all right, the fire's beyond. You're going to open the new facility in a couple of weeks. How do you keep this same sense, this same commitment to work together? And are you concerned about that as time goes by?
Obviously we'll have our issues and we'll hit speed bumps for sure, but I think our job is to cast a vision that's bigger than ourselves, and then work to achieve that vision together. And we just instituted an incentive plan for the craftsmen that as we go above and beyond, there's a share. The company shares and the craftsmen share in those gains that they make. And that's the way we want to move forward. We're in it together. We cast a vision and then we go after it together. And we have a we're a small company, Bill, and you and I have spent time together. We're a small company, but we have recognized exactly what you said. We've cast a big vision. In 10 years, 2023 will be our 100th anniversary as a company, which says something in and of itself. But our desire is to be one of the 100 best places to work, with one of the 100 best brands, and small middle brand. We're not going to compete with Google, but one of the 100 best places to work, one of the 100 best brands, and doing 100 million in sales. That's a big challenge, and that's a big out there for us. And so that's what we've done. We've put that out there, and now it's our job to work together to achieve it, and in doing so, share the benefit with all of us. I mean, I'm not Vladimir Putin.